Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of On Brand from Muse by Clio. I'm Nicole Purcell, the president of the Clio Awards, and today we have a special treat. Tim Nudd is actually taking a little vacation day, and we have our partners at Salesforce coming in to co-host with me. So let's welcome Christina Jones.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. So now we have some girl power without Tim this week. So excited to hear about who we are interviewing today.
Yes. Well, Nicole, I don't know about you, but I have grown really weary of thought leadership. I'm much more interested in action leadership. And for that reason, I'm really excited that we're featuring one of our customers at Salesforce, an amazing like-minded marketing leader, Harris Bieber. He's responsible for scaling the community of video creators, filmmakers, and brands using their platform to share, using his platform to share their stories with the world. At the end of this interview, you're going to have to tell me what you think. Is he a thought leader or an action leader?
Ooh, I can't wait. Let's welcome him, Harris.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. Great to see you both, and I'm glad to be here.
Hi, Harris.
So excited to see you. It's been a while since we've gotten together, so I'm excited.
Since anyone's gotten together is the reality.
That is true. And that's always one of my first questions too, Harris. I'm always asking, it's now 6 months into COVID, over 6 months into COVID. And where are you? Who are you living with? How has it been? And has your routines changed over this time?
I'm home at my house in Long Island in New York, which is just outside the city, which is where I normally work, Manhattan. I am fortunate enough to be in my house with my amazing wife and 2 sons. I think the real answer, if we want to get real on how we're doing, it depends on the day. I think it's 7 months. No one's counting, but we are officially in 7 months into this. And there is an enormous amount going on in the world that myself and our teams have to process, as well as personally and with work, right? I think our days have merged. The blend between life and work has merged even further than it was in a connected world. So my days start earlier. They seem to end later. There is no separation
that a lot.
Work and our home life. But at the same time, I'm incredibly fortunate to be able to spend more time with my family and see them more frequently. So there's pros and cons to every situation, but we're surviving, and I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, we know that a big piece of Vimeo's mission is storytelling. Can you tell us how that mission has crystallized over this time as well?
Yeah, I think what we've all learned during this time is the power of video. Vimeo, we've always known it. We've been the world's largest video platform for professionals for over 15 years. But I think what we found is people who said never are doing video all the time. And it's for every use case in every facet. So if you're a small business, you're using video to stay connected, to let your customers know that you're available for delivery, for restaurants, for pickup. If you are a fitness studio that all of a sudden can't do in-person classes, you're leveraging video to reach your students. And your students are not only locally in your town, they're globally, and you could reach them in new and different ways. And if you're a company like Vimeo or Salesforce, where your workforce is automatically or all of a sudden distributed, you're using video to stay connected with all your employees and your customers. So I think our goal in that is being a platform that supports and enables video for all those different use cases, and really to lower the barriers to make people successful with video and make it feel attainable. Because for most people, it feels quite out of reach. And our goal is to build the tools and the expertise to make you feel like you could succeed with video.
I love that. That's something that we've had to do, obviously, at Salesforce as we rethink Dreamforce, and we've launched a couple of series, the Leading Through Change and Make Change, needing to stay connected to our customers in this in-between time, I guess. Speaking of, you've introduced a lot of new tools lately. Vimeo Showcase, Vimeo Enterprise, Vimeo Create. How do these products help these creators with their video production, and how are they evolving your brand's promise?
I mean, it starts with what I said earlier. Ultimately, we're here to serve our community and understand what their challenges are and solve them. And the reality is there's millions of creative professionals and businesses who are using video to share their stories, to engage with audiences, to reach their customers and employees. But there's also millions more who could be using it And we see our opportunity to reach all of them and letting them know the value we can offer by creating and developing tools like Showcase or Enterprise to solve those each individual needs in unique ways. And that all means that the ways people can use video to achieve their goals is changing and evolving, and we have to evolve with that, and we build the tools to kind of support that evolution.
You did an interesting COVID project called Stories in Place, which I love. We're going to take a quick look at the trailer, and then I would love to talk about it with you.
Because there are a lot. Disruption to daily life happening on a global scale.
Restaurants, bars, and cafes will be limited.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Let's at least make this a moment that when we look back, we can say, wow, we went through hell. But look at all the lessons we learned and look at how much better we made this place.
I think we're all connected. You know, just knowing that the person in Colorado is doing the same thing that somebody's doing in Spain.
I don't want to be a hero. I want to do what is kind and responsible.
We all have to adapt right now and do things in a non-traditional way.
You know, 2 weeks ago, you'd say, well, we just have to get through this because then it's going to open back up. And now we know, well, open back up doesn't mean open back up, and maybe open back up is never the same.
I love this. You pick the filmmakers, they're focusing on small business, which is so important right now. How did you pick the filmmakers? You know, how did you do this during COVID time? I love it, and I'm glad that you're putting it out there about small business.
Yeah, to be honest, it came out of necessity to serve our community again. So to give you a little backstory on this, on February 27th, we launched one of the biggest products in our company history called Vimeo Create, which was a short form video editor to help businesses succeed by making videos for social media to grow their business, to help them reach more customers. We had a big campaign that our team worked months on, shot marketing assets and a big media plan around it that was set to launch the following week. And the week we were going to launch, the world pretty much shut down. And what we came to realize is it wasn't appropriate to talk about how do you grow your business and build your brand when so many of those small businesses didn't care about that. They worried about, how am I going to survive? How am I going to keep my doors open? Yeah. And that little seed of a thought was the inspiration for this, because at the other side of our community, we serve creative professionals, the people that are making the videos. So we serve businesses on one side and the video professionals that are making videos, and both of their worlds were deeply impacted. Every production in the world was shut down. You weren't shooting things because you had to be in quarantine or shelter in place. So we said, how can we serve both of these audiences, support them in ways that they both need right now, and put a positive message out in the world? And we came up with this grant program where we gave a grant to a filmmaker, and we put a call out to our staff pick filmmakers, which, if those of you don't know, Vimeo has for about 12 years hand curated the best of the videos on the internet that we award with staff picks. And it's a real badge of honor for those filmmakers. So they are some of the most talented filmmakers in the world who are all sitting at home. We reached out to their community and said, we want to give you a grant to make a film, and we want you to tell us a story about a small business in your local community that's been impacted by the pandemic, and tell us their story. And in kind, we gave a grant to the small business to help them support them. They had, I think what ended up being, we put the submission call out for submission. We received over 200 responses, which we were just floored by. We selected the 8 that we felt was a real diverse representation of the stories globally. And they made the films of what amounted into like 2 or 3 weeks, which, if you know anything about creating videos, whether it's a small ad for social media or a documentary film, nothing takes 3 weeks. And what they came back with when you watch these films was incredibly moving, incredibly high caliber, and it really captured the moment that people were experiencing. And the fact that we were able to turn that around so quickly, right in the moment. So we started this in March. They were released within like a month or so. So it was right in the peak of everything as this was just ramping up. And I think about that last line in the trailer that you just watched, and it gives me chills, because how forward thinking was this gentleman who runs a bike shop, right? Like, we thought it was going to shut down for 2 weeks. And what we realized is open back up might not ever be the same. And 7 months later, we're sitting here talking about how things still aren't the same. Many of us are working remotely, and many of those small businesses we serve have had to close their doors, or they've adapted and they have a completely different business. And how they grow their business is very different today than it was at the start of all this.
We have to support our small businesses. You know, there's this in between time, and I hope that as we are forced to take a time out, a pause, that, you know, we don't just go back to normal, that we actually go back to better, that we build better, that we build more intentionally. You know, one of my favorite sheroes is Shirley Chisholm. You know, she famously says, you know, if you don't have a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. But I would argue that, you know, in these days, she would not have been happy with a folding chair. She would have demanded a seat. These small, medium business owners are building their own table, and in so doing are creating opportunity for others in their community. And so it is incumbent upon us to support them. And so when people say, you know, it's not just about Small Business Saturday, right? It's all the time. Again, these are the backbones of our communities. People say that it takes a village. This is a huge part of our village. We have to keep them successful in whatever way we can. And so I love the series that you did around small businesses, the Small Business Shorts, which is specifically a video about what video can do for small business. And the way that you did it, you are shining a light on these businesses, but also giving an opportunity for up and coming voices to have a moment. I'd love to take a look at that and get some thoughts from you on that afterwards.
Love it.
The brands of tomorrow, they're gonna be born today no matter what.
That's true. That's true.
Every time there's like a farm in a movie, it's in Ohio. We have farms, but we're not all farmers.
20 deodorants on my stovetop had grown to batches of 50,000 in a huge warehouse with 150 employees.
It's important to me for my brand to stand out, to stand for something, because I think that Dayton deserves it.
Being different is how you find your place in the world. Once you educate a girl and give her all the tools she needs, not only would that benefit her, but her community, and then the whole country, and then the whole world.
Yeah, and this is a great example of, we started this work in 2019, you know, finding the right small businesses. How could we showcase them? We went to those towns and shot all of them. The last one was, I know the team just got back from Ohio shooting The Real Estate Agent right before, in February. So it was going on in the winter, right before this all shut down. And we were able to edit these, put them together, and really show the impact that these small businesses have on their local communities and bigger world. Xandra is an incredible story of a high school teenager who used to bother her parents for all these like chapsticks that she loved. And finally her dad said, if you want this so much, start your own business. And she took him at his word, and she has a global business that's in Target, that's everywhere. And she's from Buffalo, New York. She still goes to school. So here she is, she's in college now, and she's running this global cosmetic business that's sustainable and has such a compelling story of someone that was a young individual that took initiative. And she uses video every single day to help grow her business on social media and connect with her customers, her audience, and really build her brand, and telling those stories to see how people are using video in different ways to really reach a broader audience is our purpose in the world. And we give them the tools to help do that more successfully and break down those barriers, as I mentioned before. So yeah, these were incredibly moving stories. I love them.
That's awesome. You already had mentioned about the staff picks, which I think is so great. I want to go a little further. How valuable is it to your brand, and has the selection process changed over time?
You know, in a world filled with data and algorithms where it's so important to us, like how do you drive engagement on these platforms? Viewership is fragmented. What works on Facebook doesn't work on Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter. So knowing those insights and data can be incredibly compelling and valuable, but getting to real true craft and storytelling still involves some human curation, and that's just what our curation team is. So it's built from them hand selecting films, looking at what's trending, getting recommendations from our community, and really selecting. There's a strict process that even, I don't know, I'm privy to all the intricate details. A team of 4 curators that have been on Vimeo. They have amazing background and depth in the craft of creating videos and storytelling, and they hand select all of them across many different categories. It is part of our core DNA from earliest days. We had our 10-year decade in 2018 that celebrating a decade of staff picks. So now it's 12 years. So shortly after we launched in 2004, a few years later, we have the staff picks, and that stayed with our brand. It's a pillar of us. It really tells the creative standard of what video could be and really gives inspiration to our community. So when you're coming and you're a filmmaker or a business and you want to look at the best brand videos that are out there, coming to video and finding that inspiration, say, I want to make something like that, helps you aspire to what you could create and put out in the world to have a real impact.
I love that. You touched on data a little bit. I'm a creative executive that loves data. It helps me tell better stories. Some creative executives feel otherwise and are afraid of it. As a data-forward company, why do you believe that creatives should, in fact, embrace more data? And how do you feel when they do embrace it, that it fosters creativity?
I think a common thread is impact, right? No matter what you're making a video for, you want to have impact. And impact could mean lots of things. It could be delivering a message that's really compelling and moving. It could be driving traffic to your website. It could be getting people to register for an event. So knowing what works and where your audience is incredibly important, because ultimately, if you invest all your time and resources and put your sweat and energy and your creative thought into making something, but it doesn't reach the audience because they've scrolled past it, because you have 3 seconds to capture someone's attention, then your message is lost. So I think you want to get the maximum impact from your efforts, and to do that, data could be incredibly valuable. And that's where Vimeo having this platform of 175 million creators making all this content could really serve as a point of insights and data and surfacing that what works. So when you release a video and you use our publish to social tool and you put it on all the platforms, and seeing those engagement charts of how your video is performing on the different platforms, that's incredibly valuable. So you make the right content for the audience that you're trying to reach. You can't replicate that, and that instinct only goes so far. The quantitative is really good to go along with the qualitative.
I think it's hard. People are worried about competing with their competitors, but in the social space, you're competing with whatever's above or below your feed. So, understanding in real time what's working and what's not working is, I think, critical, as opposed to waiting for the long delayed brand studies. So,
yeah, I think, by the way, you're not only competing with what's in the feed, you're competing with the spouse that's sitting next to them to the couch, you're competing with on the TV, the kids screaming in the background. Attention is just fragmented these days. It's a 3 seconds to capture someone's attention. That's not a lot of time to grab them before they move on to something else.
Yeah. Let's jump into social issues now. I mean, obviously, a lot of brands are increasingly getting more involved. What do you think? What is your view on the larger role of brands to either get involved, not get involved? How do you feel about that?
I think it depends on the company and the brand. And each company has a unique role to serve. We are a community, above all else. We're a platform that serves a lot of people. So choosing which issues to take a stand on and which to be kind of neutral on is important for us as a platform that serves so many users. But there are some clear delineations that we've taken a stand for as a platform in terms of what type of content we allow on our platform. We don't allow any hate content, misinformation. There's things that we believe in supporting the world. So we're a global company, but we also have a lot of creators in the United States, and we just did a Get Out the Vote campaign because we believe the way to make impact and drive change is to voice and vote your voice. And the only way to do that is to get people registered, ensure they're going to vote. No matter what your voice is, you want it to be heard, you have to register and you have to vote. So leveraging the power of our platform in the United States is a great way to get people, drive awareness for that. So I think it really goes back to your brand is, who you serve, and where you want to take a stand, because ultimately you have to make delineations. And for us, there's been multiple issues that we've taken a stand on, but like hate is a really clean one for us. We don't believe in promoting hate speech, and we've really enforced that, and we've enforced it even to the point where we've been sued and defended in court because we believe it's that important.
That's great. Christina, I would actually like to ask you the same thing and get Salesforce's perspective on this.
Well, if you know Salesforce, you know that values are baked into our DNA. Our CEO, Mark Benioff, famously says, the value the business of business is doing good. And then at Salesforce, we believe that any business can be a platform for change. And, that's one of the reasons that I'm able to launch programs like Make Change or Leading Through Change, where we highlight action leaders who are doing good, using their platform to drive change themselves. As it relates to brand purpose, I've been on a lot of panels and I've heard a lot of different conversations about it. But at the end of the day, people are voting with their dollars now. There's no red velvet curtain that people can hide behind. People want to know who the CEO is. They want to know where the companies are spending their money, what they believe in. And if you stand for nothing, then if you don't stand for something, you're standing for nothing. And that's just not acceptable anymore. So I'm right along with that gang. I'm again, like I said, this is why I'm a huge fan of the work that Harris is doing with small business. I'm a huge fan of what Mark Pritchard does with, Procter & Gamble. Shelley Zales with the female quotient. There's Ariana Huffington and Thrive. There's incredible people out there, right? Doing some really incredible things, supporting people outside of their traditional business model. I think, as Mark says, stakeholder capitalism is more important now than ever.
Thank you both. I love that question. And it's all, you see the passion in both of you and in your brand. So I appreciate that. And I love that. So Harris, we're going to jump back to you. Are there any other brands out there that you admire for their creativity that you could share with us?
There's a lot. You talk about, I think to me, I step back and for the most compelling brands are those that have mastered the art of storytelling. Mm-hmm. They market with like the people and for them and not to them or at them, right? When you do this right, you can tell incredibly moving stories that resonate with your audience and you're able to keep the product at the core of the story, but it's not the story itself. And I think one brand that does this amazingly well is Nike. They've done it inherently throughout. I mean, it's numerous. You see it. It's just always, the product's always there. You know what they're driven by, but it doesn't overshadow the story. And because of that, they have this huge coalition of people that believe in the brand and what they're doing. And there's countless examples of it. One going back a while is they set a goal of breaking the 2-hour marathon. And a great series and documentary about how they worked with an athlete to build it. It was all about the product, but it was really about the story, kind of pushing the barriers of what a human being could accomplish when people said it would never be able to be done. And it just put their money where their mouth is of really investing and pushing the just do it and accomplish great things in the world with the product at the core. And I mean, with Colin Kaepernick also, they're just really standing behind their brand and their belief system of knowing what they stand for. And they do it through incredible storytelling at the heart of it all. So that's one. I mean, there's countless.
There's a ton. I mean, that's a huge, obviously, Clio winner. They're amazing. And Phil Knight, I mean,
yeah.
How could you not love what he created? But yeah.
Harris, this is a tough question. It's always hard to look into the future, but I'm going to ask you to look into the future. What do you think the next 6 months look like for Vimeo?
It's incredibly dynamic and evolving and changing. As I mentioned, video has been at the heart of so much of the change that's going on in the world in terms of sparking movements to how people are interacting with each other and staying connected. And I'm incredibly excited about like the tools that we're building to help support that, from the largest use cases of companies broadcasting to their hundreds of thousands of employees down to the smallest businesses that really need video to stay alive and moving. So I think no one knows what the next 6 months looks like. And I think there will be a point, whether it's 5 months, 6 months, 8 months, where we do get past this and beyond this. But what I do think at the core of that is people aren't going to go back, right? The power of doing an event and using video to reach a global audience versus the 5,000 people that can attend an in-person event, that doesn't change. So I expect, you mentioned Dreamforce, I've been there. That's an insane in-person event. There's nothing that's going to replace that vibe and energy that you get in the city of San Francisco when 150,000 people all coming for Salesforce come together. But the reality is Salesforce has way more customers than that, and they can't all fly to San Francisco. So how do you reach that audience globally? Video is the tool that's going to do that, and that's at the largest scale, but that exists across the spectrum. So I think video is no longer going to be an or, it's going to be an and people are just used to it. So I think the future is video. The next 6 months is video. That is completely self-serving, but it's something I actually believe in.
Well, good for you. We're very happy for you. We appreciate you taking the time with us today. We had so much fun and it's so great seeing you. Please wait for us backstage so we can hang out a little bit afterwards if you have the time. But again, thank you so much, Harris. It's been wonderful catching up and hearing everything that you guys are up to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harris.
Well, Christina, so much fun. We have to do this again.
What do you think? Was he an action leader? Or was he a thought leader, right? He's using his
definitely an action leader. Yes, I believe that. Even when I first met him, when he started in the job, I saw that going that way. So he is amazing, but I cannot wait to have a glass of wine with you and come visit you in Napa, because I will be.
I can't wait for that either.
Thank you for joining us. Please tune in every Thursday for a new On Brand from Muse by Clio. Next time, we'll have Mr. Tim Nudd joining us again. Thank you so much.